With the recent huge growth in the population in Braunfels and Comal County, commissioners just made a change to their building regulations. They're also looking at how to protect the environment there amid all this growth. Here to talk about that is Ryan Spencer, who is the executive director of Comal Conservation. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you were at this meeting recently where the commissioners passed these new regulations. What do these do, and why did they pass these?
Well, subdivision guidelines are really interesting, and I think the first thing to talk about is the difference between city government and county government. Cities have far more authority to regulate development, to kind of control the way things go in or go out. They have levers that they can use to encourage developers to do certain things. In the unincorporated areas of Texas, that is not the case. County governments get almost all of their authority from the state of Texas, and they have to do exactly what the state of Texas tells them to do. One of the few ways that counties can guide growth in the unincorporated areas of Texas is through these subdivision guidelines. And what they do is basically set the rules of the road. What developers can do, what they can't do. They govern things like frontages, like minimum lot sizes, setbacks. They talk about how roads should be built, those kind of things.
What kind of changes did they want, and because there are a huge amount, what do you say, 450 to 800 people are moving in every month?
Right.
Do they not like the way that developers have just come in there and put these things out no matter what?
I don't know if I would say they don't like the way that they've done them. They want to just clarify some things and make sure that the residents who already live in Comal County are protected from developers who are going to be building. And that they don't have to pay for the cost of some of that infrastructure. So some good examples of things that happened with these new subdivision guidelines. They increased the minimum lot size. The frontage went from 40 to 60 feet. So that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it is. They also increased setbacks, so that way folks aren't necessarily parking over sidewalks. They increased the depth, the road base on the roads that are going to be developed. And they also required that developers ensure the maintenance of those roads well into the development phase of the build-out.
I was kind of surprised that they expanded the lot size because a lot of developers, a lot of urban planners talk about density.
Right.
That it's better if you're having all these people come in to live in a more dense area.
Sure.
And that would lessen the impact on the environment.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense in urban areas. In rural areas, when we talk about density, there are a lot of different types of ways to develop a piece of property. We've got low impact development methods and conservation development methods, and that often encourages saving some space for the nature, for green space. And so that's a critical part of this. I also think generally when you ask most Texans if they want to be sardined into a subdivision, or would they like to have a little bit of space, they'd probably tell you they'd like a little more room.
Although we see in San Antonio a lot of the older neighborhoods, being split up, and you have condos and
Sure.
4 units where there was one house.
Right.
That's not going on in New Braunfels or Comal County yet?
Not really. Comal County, like many counties in the Texas Hill Country, is experiencing massive growth, 450 to 800 people every single month. For folks who lived here in the 90s, you remember in New Braunfels that had about 25,000 people. Now there are 120,000 people in that area. And so, we're seeing curb and gutter subdivisions in parts of the county that we never would before. And so I think the county commissioners are trying to provide some guidance to developers that are building in that area. And so one of the good things about this set of regulations is that it'll eliminate unlimited or needless variances. It'll kind of just set the rules for everybody, allow them to come into the county, build what they need to build, but do it in a way that's responsible.
How about when you talked about curb and gutters? It makes me think about drainage and rivers.
Sure.
And the impact of, we talk about over the aquifer recharge zone in Bexar County and other counties. What kind of impact will these subdivisions that are inevitably going to be built have?
Sure. Well, we do have stormwater and runoff retention and detention regulations in Comal County, and so that helps slow down some of that water. You want to make sure that we don't increase flooding risk as a result of development, but we also want to have time. We want to slow that water down so it can soak into the aquifer, so it can create the base flow, the environmental flow of our rivers, which are crucial to our economy and our quality of life.
If you live here in Bear County, you may know where the recharge zone is, where the other zone is that
Sure.
leads into it. We don't know maybe Comal County and what
Yeah.
what you're under. You have the Trinity as well as
We
the Edwards.
do. Yeah, we have two aquifers in Comal County. We have the Edwards Aquifer, which most folks in San Antonio are very aware of. We also have the Trinity Aquifer, which is a little bit larger. It covers about 61 counties in Texas, and it's the western half of Comal County. So if you look at Canyon Lake and you just go towards the west, most of that is the Trinity Aquifer.
In San Antonio, we had a tax for a time that helped us buy land
Sure.
over the recharge zone. In Comal County, are you worried about all these subdivisions being
Absolutely.
instead of being bought up for conservation?
Yeah, I think all of us have concerns about not having enough parks, open space, and natural areas. And I got to salute the Commissioner's Court in Comal County. They just recently made an application to the Texas Water Development Board for their Clean Water State Revolving Fund. So this is $30 million of state funds that's going to go to put conservation easements on working lands over the Trinity and Edwards aquifers. So this is a first for Comal County. It's a historic step, and it's an opportunity for us to protect very vital, important working lands that sustain the natural systems we all depend on.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Fascinating. Ryan Spencer, Executive Director of Comal Conservation, come back and tell us how things are growing up there massively in New Braunfels.
Be happy to.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.